Hi everybody, I'm Christina from Initiative Tabletop, and today we're going to take a look at Western Town. It's a game by YME. It takes 45 to 90 minutes, and it's about 2 to 4 players. It's a game where you are a marshal in a western town, and you're trying to make your town very enticing so that the president will come and visit you. It's a game that is a resource management game, and it's about victory points when the game is over. Let's take a look inside the box. Okay, so we're ready for the beginning of the game. Over here, we have our Lincoln stack, which is where we took 4 random cards and we removed the other cards out of the game. We did not see them. And then we have this 5 Lincoln card, which basically means that it's the end of the game. You've got one more round. So this will just set here, and these will set here. We're going to flip the top Lincoln card. And you see on here, there's a couple symbols. One is for, and it has a pink cube next to it. And then one has a heart symbol. The heart symbol represents lure, and the 4 with the pink cube represents inhabitants. These large cubes represent 4 inhabitants, and then these smaller cubes just represent 1 inhabitant. So we've already set up, we already took our marshals and looked at their special setups that they required and went ahead and set this up. So now we're ready to do what's called, and we've already set up our extra constructible buildings too. So now we're ready to do what's called constitute your hand, which is where you look at your board and you see the lowest number that's available. That's how many cards you're going to have available this round. So both of us have 4, so we will just look in our cards. This is where the cards I mentioned earlier with the cactus symbol that's down there at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick 4 of these cards. And one thing that we need to keep in mind, the president will visit the town with the most inhabitants and the most lure. So we need to probably choose cards that's going to help increase our inhabitants and our lure. So for instance, if I played my homestead card, you see all these symbols that it has at the bottom? Those symbols you can use to reference in this game aid, which is a sheet that shows each of the cards, and it shows each of their special abilities that they have. So for instance, the homestead reads, play. For each pink home in your town, gain an inhabitant. So if I played my inhabitant, I have 2 pink homes. As you see, it has the little pink house at the bottom. So I would gain 2 inhabitants when I would go to play this card, which just means I take 2 inhabitants and I place them in the inhabited place that's on my board. So if I'm the first player, I would play this card. And then the second player, after they've already constituted their hand, they will choose the card that they are going to play. And they will just take it and play it face down. And then I will take my second card and I will play it face down. We both then would reveal our cards at the same time, and they both would take effect. For instance, they chose gold mine. This represents that they get 1 piece of gold, so they get a piece of gold, and they just place that there. I played carpenter. I can either construct a building or I can gain 2 wood, so I'm just going to choose to gain 2 wood for future reference. Now the person who has only played 1 card gets to play their second card. And I don't lay down a card during this turn. They just completely take care of their second card all by themselves. So they choose to go with the carpenter. And they also choose to go ahead and get 2 wood. Now, I have a choice. I can either play a 3rd card, which by the way you can only play 3 cards per turn, or I could do what's called exploit. For instance, I've played a carpenter card, and my partner has played a carpenter card. At the bottom of these cards, there is these symbols. You see that bottom box? that represents an exploit ability, which happens on this particular turn. So I can choose to exploit their carpenter, meaning that they flip their carpenter over. And I gain the exploit ability. In this case, I would gain a piece of wood. So I would just place a piece of wood there. And then they would get the chance to go on their turn, and they can exploit, or they can play their third card. This goes back and forth until everybody's either exploited, or they both have passed. The first person to pass gets to become the lead marshal. The other person gets to become the Grand Mantu. The Grand Mantu is very helpful because any time that this Indian camp would receive 2 orange cubes or 3 red cubes, the Grand Mantu gets to make the choice of whose western town gets attacked. So there's an advantage to that. Advantage of being the lead marshal: if there's a tie and the president's going to come visit the town, and he's got 2 different towns that he could both go visit, the Grand Marshal, or the lead marshal, gets to determine which town the president visits. Okay, so let's say that we've already played our 3 cards, and we've both decided to pass. At the top corner here, we see lure and we see gold. We go through the income phase. So lure is just simply taking one of these white peace pipes and moving them over to this section. And then they gain 1 gold. Over here, I would gain 3 lure, 1 inhabitant, and 1 piece of wood. Now we discard down to our minimal. On the board, there is written a minimal. For instance, wood is 3. I have more than 3 pieces of wood, so I have to discard my extra wood. The bank can only hold 4, so they have 7. They need to discard the other remaining pieces of gold. Now the president comes and determines who he's going to visit. Now, for every 4 inhabitants, that person gains 1 point towards him coming to visit. My particular side, I have 6 inhabitants, so there's only 1 set of 4, so there's 1 point. My partner here doesn't have any inhabitants, so he doesn't have 1 to go with. And then as far as the lure, I have 3 lure and my partner has 1 lure, so I get the president. And this president card is discarded. We take our cards back into our hand, and we will start up the next round. One thing that I should note, when you go to build, you need to pay attention to the tiles. Well, this is the card that belongs to the tile, but let's look at the tile itself. Down here at the bottom, we have wood and a gold. And that means that you have to discard a wood and a gold in order to build this house. And so you'll keep building all these different houses and all these different buildings, and then there's a victory point number at the bottom of them. And that's what you're going to score at the end of the game. It's definitely a resource management game. It's got the heavy Western theme, and as you see, you're a marshal, and you're trying to make sure that you're making the president happy and getting the best victory points that you can at the end of the game. For me personally, it was a game that I found a bit on the boring side. It's very much the same thing every turn. It's trying to collect the resources. It's trying to make the president happy and always thinking of the end game. And then sometimes whenever you're playing the game, you're trying to read the symbols that's on the card, and the symbols, you know, I mean, they make sense after a while, after you played it a few times, but a lot of times you have to slow down and you have to take a look at the game aid that it comes with to understand what the card is trying to tell you, which can kind of bog down some of the gameplay. Also, the rule book could probably use a little more work. There are some areas that the rules are a bit ambiguous, and even after reading over it a few times, we had to kind of fill in the gaps, and we finally understood what they were trying to get across. But it could use some more clarity, maybe a few more examples for the different things. So there is some areas that could use some improvement. But I mean, as you've seen, the quality, the components, they're top notch. And if people like resource management games, if you like resource management games, then Western Town's actually a good game for people who like those type of games. It's a more calculated game. You don't have as much of the luck factor in it as much. You have the cards, they might add a bit of luck, the die rolls are a little bit of luck as well, but it's very calculated. And me personally, I find that that kind of takes away some of the fun of it. But, you know, to each their own. Western Town is not a horrible game. You like resource management? Check this game out. And if you like games, keep checking out Initiative Tabletop. And we'll keep coming back at you with some more reviews. And so, that's all I have today. May the die rolls in your favor.